I had actually just gotten out of a very long relationship when I met Chris. And I'm sure there's lots of people out there that have been there. You get out of a bad relationship and you're like, I need some time. And you kind of make it a thing. Like, I need to be single for a while. And so I was in that place. I was like, I'm going to have my single girl summer. It's going to be fantastic. And then Chris went like a wrecking ball on that idea.
And ruined it. Dang it.
You all remember what it's like to first get into somebody. You send like so many texts a day. You go out like almost every night in the week. And we're over here like, we're just friends. And all of our friends are like, you guys are not just friends.
Like, that's not what we do with our friends.
Hello, everybody. This is Brittney and Byron, and you're listening to Dirty Laundry with B&B, a podcast about real, relatable relationships.
Transparency at its finest. We air it out and clear it up, offering couples and those seeking healthy relationships a safe, inclusive space to open the vents and find resolve.
Hello, Dirty Laundry listeners. I hope you guys are all doing great out there. We have an awesome couple today we're excited to talk to. But B, how are you feeling today?
I'm feeling pretty dang good. I see you with the red on. Ma, mama, ma, bruh. Okay.
It's a little, subtle hint to what we're going to be talking about today.
Okay.
I see you with the dad vibes hat.
I'm kind of addicted to matching you now, which is kind of a problem anymore. Like, when you're with somebody for so long, they say that you start looking like your dog if you have a dog. But like, I've noticed that I like matching my wife. So she like the mom gear, I had to throw the dad hat on. It was only right.
I'm going to play this back later whenever he's saying he didn't intentionally match me. Okay.
Yeah.
But I'm excited because today we're going to be talking about parenthood and, having babies when you're newly married, even having children and like later on how it works. And we have 2 boys, as many of our listeners know, and it's not easy.
It's not. Yeah. And oftentimes people wait to have children when they're ready, but there is absolutely no such thing as that. And so we're really excited to have Chris and Christina on today to discuss some of those challenges, but also some of the perks of having a brand new baby. So welcome, Chris and Christina.
Yes.
Thank you. We're really happy to be here.
It's so good to see y'all, man. Y'all don't look like y'all just had a baby. Y'all look sharp, okay?
It's very, very kind of you. We're trying.
There must be a filter on this camera or something, because I got bags.
We're far enough away that they can't see the bags under the breakers that have sprung out in the last year in our heads.
Oh, I feel you. Well, we're so excited to chat with you guys. You have a young one at home. You're still fairly new to parenting. But before we get started, our favorite question to ask every couple is, tell us your love story. Tell us how you met.
Ooh, okay. You want to start?
I will start. So at the time I was living with somebody, and to really shorten the story, my roommate was Christina's high school best friend's little sister. So if you follow that, there's a connection there.
Okay. We're working on it.
Yeah.
Yep.
So basically, through a mutual friend, I moved up to Seattle when I was in the Air Force. Christina was living in Seattle at the time. She'll tell you a little bit more about her backstory, I think, of how she got to Seattle. But basically, she invited me out for a night out in Seattle because she wrote a blog about Seattle, the restaurants, the Pacific Northwest. She said I had a +1 ticket. And so she invited me to go taste some wine downtown Seattle. And so from there is where we met. And then I would say we didn't start officially dating for a couple or a few months after meeting each other, but that's where we first met.
Yeah, I think it's where the love story started. But we had a slow burn because I had actually just gotten out of a very long relationship when I met Chris. And I'm sure there's lots of people out there that have been there. You get out of a bad relationship and you're like, I need some time. And you kind of make it a thing. Like, I need to be single for a while. And so I was in that place. I was like, I'm going to have my single girl summer. It's going to be fantastic. And then Chris went like a wrecking ball on that idea.
And ruined it. Dang it.
I know. So yeah, I think everything started with a really solid friendship though, which I really love. We spent a lot of time together, and it was funny. After like 2 or 3 months, we were sending you all remember what it's like to first get into somebody. You send like so many texts a day. You go out almost every night in the week. And we're over here like, we're just friends. And all of our friends are like, you guys are not just friends.
Like, that's not what we do with our friends.
We were closing bars in Seattle at like 2 a.m. on a Tuesday night, going into work with like 2 hours of sleep. Yeah, we're just friends, though, is what we're telling ourselves.
Yeah, he kissed me for the first time in like the most cheesy 16-year-old way. Dave Matthews' Crash Into Me was on the radio. And
yeah, you remember.
Yeah, it is. It's a memorable song to get kissed to. But then it was all, the rest was history. Yeah. We have never kind of slowed down since. We always kind of joke that we're incredibly codependent. We're like attached to each other at the hip. So once we finally admitted it to ourselves, it's been such a fun ride ever since.
I love it. This is my favorite part. And how long have you guys been married now?
We just hit our 4-year anniversary on July 4th. We had a COVID wedding. And so it's easy to keep track of 2020. So 4 years now.
I remember that, actually. I remember like the whole, you guys talking about it and like trying to figure out when it was going to be. I remember that.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I appreciate y'all sharing that story, Chris, because you had mentioned we started officially dating after that. So I wanted to know, like, what did that gap look like? What was happening there? And Christina, you had clarified it, like, we were really good friends. We spent a lot of time together. We called each other friends, but hey, other people's perception is reality. Like, we ain't just friends. Like, we're closing bars down till 2 a.m.
That's right.
But I love the fact that y'all keep, it's a slow burn, but it's still burning. Like, I can see it in y'all faces. Like, I love spending time with you all because I can see and feel the energy that y'all have amongst one another. But we know that sometimes in a relationship, those things can change just a little bit. The dynamic kind of alters whenever you invite a new life into it. Right. And so that's what we're here to talk about. Like all that fun you all had, you know, just the sporadic dates that you all had going out late. Does that change a little bit for you? So what have you all noticed since having the baby?
Oh, man, that's a good question. I mean, one, we've throttled down a lot on our dates out with each other, our one-on-one time. Like, you know, that doesn't completely disappear. But, you know, for a lot of Macy's first year, she's going to be turning 1 next weekend. But for like the first 6 months, I would say it was very little time, just one-on-one. And so that was a huge shift for both of us because we were used to, we didn't call them dates on Tuesday nights like when we were living pre-Macy. It was just like we're going out to eat. And now anytime we get that opportunity, we definitely label it a date because that's exactly what it is. It's like just one-on-one, right. Focus time on each other, which is really even more special now. So yeah, it's definitely just throttled down.
Yeah. And I mean, to be honest, we weren't sure we wanted to have kids before we had Macy. We weren't the couple that had the sort of dream of like a certain type of family with a certain number of kids. We were unsure if that was even in the cards for us. And a big part of that, for me personally at least, was this feeling that life with just Chris was perfect. I felt happy every day. I feel like Chris is such a good partner. It's like almost vomit worthy. He'll come up to me as I'm like, you know, at work and getting ready for lunch, and he'll put on a song and want to dance with me really quick.
Oh, I love it.
To him in the front hallway, and he'll just say, let's just take a minute and give each other a hug. And like, he gives the best hugs. And when we watch TV, even something like that on the couch, like even after we'd been together for years, you know, we would cuddle. And so it's just, I was really nervous because I was like, I feel like we have something so special and I feel like it's rare and I'm worried we're going to mess it up because I have.
That's a real thing.
Yeah. And so it took a long time to kind of, I think, get to the place where we were sure enough, like you said, Byron, like, I don't think anyone's ever ready. And we definitely were not ready, but we were sure enough. I think we thought, you know, we don't want to miss out on this aspect of being human and having this experience in life. And people say it opens up new emotions and it makes you a better person and all these things. And I was like, well, I don't want to miss out on that. That sounds too cool. So we finally got to the place where we wanted to do it. But it was really hard because we really did love spending time together, just the two of us, I think.
I love it. So now, you know, fast forward, you decide to have, you know, baby Macy, and here you are. Like, how are you feeling? How was the transition when, you know, the baby came? Like, did you feel like, wow, this was all good emotions? Was it a combination of emotions?
Oh my gosh, she hit us like a freight train.
We were beat up, chewed up, spit out. Like, again, if you talked to us 9 months ago, like this would be a different conversation because I think it took 3 or 4 months for anything to feel even the slightest amount of being easier.
Yeah.
But I'll say the transition just speaking for myself, it was extremely difficult. I've never gone through a harder year in my life than the last 12 months for many reasons, not just the baby stuff, but just thinking about the parent transitioning into a parent. There's just no preparation for it. We were told by hundreds of people, like, it's going to be the hardest thing you've ever done. There's no way to actually understand how difficult it would be until you actually experience it, I think. So
yeah, Chris, one time you were talking about it and you were like, yeah, you show up at the hospital and you're like one person. And then 2 or 3 days later, they kick you out of the hospital and your world is just flipped upside down.
Yes.
Yeah.
We're used to, I can still if I think really hard, I can remember what a Saturday was like before Macy. And it was, you slept as much as you wanted. And you kind of, you're like, oh, let me grab a cup of coffee. I'll sit on the couch. Maybe I'll catch up on that show I was watching this week. And you kind of look at each other. What should we do for lunch? Should we go out? Should we stay in? Oh, do we need to go to the grocery store? And
before you know it, you're up until 2 a.m. and life is good because it doesn't matter the next day. It's like Saturday.
Yeah. Yeah. There's almost like a little bit of a bliss too when you have a new baby. Those it's almost like a fakeness. I don't even know if the hormone levels haven't gone down for the first 2 or 3 weeks, but you're like, this is so amazing. This baby is so good. It sleeps. And then something happens, what they call the witching hour, something happens. And then it's all those hormones are gone. They've dispersed and you're just frustrated, tired, exhausted, pissed off. You don't really know why. I don't know if I'm hungry, if I need to breastfeed. You don't know. So I'm sure you guys went through that too.
Yeah. And you talked about something too, Christina, that was very interesting about when they kick you out of the hospital. And I never thought about that. Well, I haven't thought about it since we, experienced that when we had our second child. But any job that you've ever had, you apply for it, you get the job, and then you start working it. And guess what? You have a trainer, you have on-the-job training, you have evaluations. When you leave from the hospital, what I would consider the most important job in the world, being a parent, there is no on-the-job training. There is no trainer. There is no evaluation. Yeah. You just dumped out into the world. That is just, it's overwhelming, and it can be frustrating. It could be just difficult and challenging. It just changes your whole world. So yeah, I totally get what you all are saying. It's a tough job, especially there in the beginning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
The hardest job. And if you go to work and you don't know how to do your job, the stakes aren't so high. I mean, some people, of course it is, in the military or doctors, people like that. But I'm an HR at a tech company. The worst thing that can happen at my job is that, I forget what, I don't even know, but with a baby, it's a life. It's a life that you made and you love. And it's oh my gosh, I don't know how to do a single thing. And also,
yes,
so much information out there now. That was really hard for us too. It was just this rabbit holing on oh my gosh, does it matter which baby wipes we get? And does it matter what, type of bottle we use? What type of nipple on the bottle? All these different things. I mean, there are 100,000 articles for every little thing.
That's true. I don't know. And I don't know if that makes it worse or better. I sometimes obviously the things our parents did weren't all good. People were smoking in hospitals and stuff. But there are certain levels. When I hear my mom say things that I'm she's probably right. It's kind of an old school thing. You don't need to freak out. It's okay. So I do feel some of the information now is a little bit overwhelming. It's
for sure.
I know there's more than one way to do it, but gosh, it's a lot of information. It makes you feel you're not sure if you're doing it right or wrong, and makes you feel guilty almost because you did it a different way. And sometimes I feel those old school methods are the best methods.
You can find some counter arguments for just about any decision you make as a parent on the internet in some which makes it even more confusing. So yeah, to your point, Brittany, it's just, there's so much information, and you don't have that parent instinct right when you go home from the hospital. We woke up one day and it's just oh, there's a baby in the room with us. What?
Yeah.
And I don't know what is right or wrong. I'm new to this, like anything else. So that parent instinct. And now at this point, we try and trust our gut almost a year in whenever we're making a decision. But before that, you're just relying on the internet. So it's really difficult.
Yeah. Did you all feel whenever you brought the baby home, did you kind of, and maybe not immediately, but after some time, did you kind of miss that time together out of guilt, probably a little bit too, because like you love your children so much, but did you kind of have this guilt of like, I really miss my spouse. Like, I wish we could just like do our own thing right now. Did you guys experience that?
Oh, for sure. I think at this point, I think what the other thing that people don't tell you is that their cuteness skyrockets at a certain point. Like in the beginning, we had a friend that said something that really stuck with me was like, I've never given so much to something and gotten so little in return, because they're just kind of like larva pods. Like,
Yes.
you know, they eat,
Yeah.
they sleep, they poop. They're not like hugging you and snuggling into you and like all those things in the very beginning. And so I feel like that beginning stage where like you're not just like, oh my God, it's like I just want to spend every waking moment with you, when you're like tired and all these things and it's so fresh. We were like ships passing. We were kind of doing like shift work at night to like help her get the sleep that she needed and things like that. She needed to sleep on us a lot, like contact napping. And I missed you so much. Like I remember us saying like, I just miss like going to bed at the same time together at night and like turning out our lights together and like having that ritual together. You know, you're suddenly separate. It's kind of like divide and conquer so that like somebody can sleep while the other one does all this stuff. And we felt really distant in the beginning. That was probably one of the most challenging parts,
I mean,
honestly.
the number of breakdowns that happened in the first 3 or 4 months, and I'm like crying, just like there's nothing that could console either of us. Those were a lot of feelings, I think, in the background. We weren't really talking about them in the moment, but I think all that added to just like those blow-ups of feelings that you had that, you know, surface in tears. But, you know, I haven't really thought about those breakdowns in a while.
Yeah, the highs are high, the lows were low.
Highs are high, lows are low. But yeah, I mean, it's just so difficult to say goodbye to your partner, even though you're still living in the same house. But, you know, the connection definitely dwindled a little bit when we're just in like that survival mode of taking care of our daughter, which is like the number one goal. So like we were on the same page about that and we did what we had to do. But, you know, definitely miss each other.
Yes.
So.
Chris, you said something there, man, because we talk a little bit about, you know, having been with each other for 22 years, it'll be in October. There have been so many different phases of Brittney and Byron. And when you said, say goodbye to your partner, you truly are saying goodbye to that type of Christina and that type of Chris, because you're going to change based on the way you adapt with that new child. So that is very, very novel, the way that you said that. I like that a lot.
That's very true. There's a whole new mom-dad version for sure.
For sure.
Yeah.
Man, that's crazy. I don't know what to say off that one, man. I'm gonna write that one down for sure. Yeah, and take it for myself. But yeah. So you had talked a little bit about the conflict that you had, right? So some of the breakdowns, the way that you had put it. How were y'all able to overcome that? Like what tools did you use, or what did you use in order to get through those times?
I think something that we've always, well, actually, I shouldn't say always, because I used to not express my feelings. I used to like bottle them up and then, you know, not share anything with anybody. So the way we overcame things, we haven't talked about this. So that's a really good question. We haven't really talked like what made us get through that challenging phase. But I feel like something without even having to talk to each other about was that we have always been aligned on our goals. And that's to be the best parents we can be, to take care of our daughter. And I think that was the glue through everything. Like we just did what was required of us whenever we had a challenging day, or if we could see someone was a little more miserable than ourselves were, then we would give a little bit more. Like we just picked up the slack wherever we could. And I think that philosophy of both of us trying to always give 80 and taking 20 it works itself out. And that's something I heard probably like 10 years ago about relationships. It's like never expect more than 50%. Like don't go in thinking 50-50, go in thinking like I'm giving 80, maybe I'll get 10 or 20 back. And I just think that kind of mentality and philosophy has allowed us to just get through stuff. And we don't talk about our, you know, like relationship philosophy that much. We don't get like too introspective, but I think that's just what I've been always trying to do. And it just has somehow worked out with a lot of work. It's not like it's easy. None of this is easy. But
yeah, I think that carried forward from, you've always, I think, had that philosophy, the 80-20, like you've talked about that before Macy was born. And I always thought that was really generous. And I've tried to adopt that as well. And then I feel like something that changed though about managing conflict after Macy came was that advice that so many people give you became so much more true, which was pick your battles. Before she was born, I feel like there just wasn't as much stuff that came up. So when something came up, we just talked about it. And like Chris said, he wasn't very good at talking about his feelings when we first met. And I like forced him to be like a person that would talk about things.
I'm with you. I get it.
Brittney,
pull it out. Yeah.
Exactly. And now I feel like he's really good at it. So, well, really good is maybe a little generous, but you're good. You're good. And,
all right, guys, I'll be back in 10.
On the flip side, I'm like too good at it. I like want to talk about everything ad nauseum. So
I feel you.
We both probably have room to grow in that area. Yeah, just like the picking your battles, because all of a sudden there's this project, which is your child, that you're both, it's the most passionate project you've ever had in your life. You want this thing to come out the best,
Right.
Happy, whole, safe, all the things. And like we said, there's so much on the internet. There's all these opinions coming at you. And so you develop your own opinions, and sometimes they're not the same. And so I think it was like learning to ask myself, like, what do I care about? And what is just like fringe, like fluff, And then not being the partner that's like digging at like the little stuff that doesn't matter. So that when like something big came about that I cared about, there was like room to talk about that and have a conflict. I don't know. Because there is countless things to have opinions about as a parent. I'm sure you guys know this so much better than we do. Like as I'm sure as they get older too, everybody says it gets so much harder because you've got to think about like you're molding their minds.
Yeah.
We're not doing that quite yet. Macy's still so little, but I don't know if you guys feel that way.
I think that you have realized things that we didn't quite realize that early. Like Macy is a year, and I would say we're a year 3 or 4 when we're finally like, okay, I don't think our values are aligning. Like I'm caring about way too much about creating men right now, and you care so much about X. And I don't think that they were meshing very well. So to your point, I love, Christina, how you said, like, you have to figure out what matters. Like, what is the true thing that matters? Why are we dealing so much about nitpicking with the fluff of the matter when the reality is it really doesn't matter right now? And Chris, man, you talked about the 80-20 thing. Like, we talk about that often. Like, it's never 50-50. I'd say 70% of our episodes, we say that at least once where, but as you were saying that, Chris, I did think about how important it is for y'all to have already developed a foundation in your relationship. And you cared so much about the other one to where you're willing to give 80 and only receive 20. Because some relationships aren't like that at all. Like they want to take 70 and give 30 because that's the way I was trained when we were dating. Now you expect more now that I'm a father or now that we're married. Like those things change. So kudos to both of you for having those discussions. And not only that, but just you talked about your vision and how you guys are aligned. Like maybe not even having a conversation, but just spiritually or whatever it is. Like you guys just came together and like you guys kind of sense each other. When one is kind of going down, you have to give up some more.
Yeah. And I want to say too, you were saying we've been doing this a while. Well, we have, but I think each stage comes with its challenge. And one thing I didn't recognize in myself especially when the kids were little, when the boys were young, was I felt like maybe the way he was doing it wasn't the way I had envisioned him doing it. And so it became a frustration. And I had to take a step back. It took a while. Like, it's not like something that happened overnight, but I had to remember, like, he loves them just as much as I do. But in my head, I'm like, no, I definitely have their best interest. Like no one else can love them as much as I do. And I don't know why I had that feeling. Like, I don't know if it's something because we birthed them that we feel like really protective. But then I had to think like, he clearly has the best intentions. And that helped change my mindset because it's like, you feel like, and I even find myself doing, not so much that they're older, but whenever they go with a grandparent, I'm like, I have all these rules and all these things I need to lay out. And it's like, they love them and have their best. I wouldn't even let my kids go with someone if I didn't think that, And
right.
So I think kind of letting some of that control go and utilizing your village is like a savior.
Yeah.
It is a savior because once we started utilizing our village, especially once we had our second child, I mean, that second child, you're just like, grandma, you can have them. Like, there's no, we went to Hawaii, I think when Jonah was like 7 months. But, you know, Jude, he was like 2.5, you know, we had never left him before, but with Jonah, we're like, bye, we gotta go. Like,
so funny. So we're in San Antonio, Texas, visiting family. It was a family reunion, and Jude was probably 2 or 3.
Yeah.
And my dad kept saying, "Why do y'all keep babying that baby?" I'm like, "Well, I think you're supposed to
He's a
baby
baby.
him." He said, "Why are y'all carrying him so much? Why y'all got him by your hip all the time?" And then I'm looking at pictures, like he is in videos, like he is literally like all on us, you know. And then we got Jonah, we're like putting him down the field, like, all right, next, you know. But yeah, those things change. It's so funny you said that. Yeah, but I remember having that conversation. Like, I mean, they're my kids too, babe.
Yeah, like I know what I'm doing. You know, well, we don't know what we're doing, but we're all trying to figure it out together. And I think giving that little bit of grace to each other helps. And kind of the 80-20, I totally believe in that philosophy. I wanted to say this too. But also, I know I've said this on previous episodes. Sometimes it may feel like you are doing 80 and they are doing 20. But I have to tell myself they most likely feel the same way. Because it's kind of like at work, you know, they kind of use that same thing. Like, you think you're doing everything. Well, you have no idea what your coworker is doing. You don't know. They may be stressed and maxed out too. So, but it feels like it. It feels like I'm doing everything, you know, so.
Totally. Yeah. I mean, I have nothing else to add on what both of you just said, because it's just completely true. And just like we have experienced those same things.
Yeah. You said letting go of control too.
Yeah. Yes.
I think that's a huge thing that we're still figuring out.
I'm like taking notes of like, because we don't know if we're going to have a second kid yet. We have an inclination that we're leaning towards no. But like, we just know there's a difference in raising, you know, your oldest versus youngest. Like, there's a total difference. I have an older brother, and like, you know, you just get treated differently because like your parents aren't doing it for the first time. And it sounds like y'all were like, all right, let's change a couple things.
And they're totally different people. Like, I know everyone says that, but you're like, no, they're not. Like, I swear to you, when Jude was born, like, he wanted to be wrapped up tight. He was like such a good little baby. And then Jonah came and he was like wild child. And so I was like, okay, they're already different. And they're like just comparing like birth, you know, and things like that. So they're still different. So, but it doesn't get easier. There are things that get easier. Yes, they know how to use the restroom on their own, and they can go get a snack on their own, and they can do big boy things now, but they're still like big challenges, right? Like having hard conversations and like watching what we do because they're watching, you know. When they're younger, it's like not as big of a deal, I guess. But now they're like invested. They act just like Byron, honestly. So they're mostly watching him.
They're lucky to have such a good dad, a good father figure.
Yes, they are. They sure are.
Well, thank you. That's very nice of you to say, because I'm very hard on myself. I am. I'm very hard on myself, and I go to sleep like, I can't believe I said that to my kid. You know, and it's not even like nothing that's, you know, huge, you know, very challenging, you know, but I do try to be careful with, you know, the way that I speak to them, the way that I act. But just like any other human, you're going to say things or treat them in a way that you feel like, dang, I should not have said that. You know, the hard part, though, is coming back and saying, hey, I was wrong. You know, hey, I'm so sorry and I'm sorry that I hurt your feelings. The thing that is very difficult for me is just like Brittney said, they are like me. And so for me, I'm looking at miniature Byrons and I'm like, okay, I remember when I was that age, I felt like this. So this is what I'm going to do to him to help him through that. But it doesn't work. So it's like, okay, you know, what do I do now? You know, so it's so, you said it, you hit the nail on the head. Like, it's just different challenges at different phases, but just letting go of the control and just being flexible. I mean, that's what's worked for us the most. And just understanding like we only have so much that we can do. Like, how many conversations can you remember with your parents that were just like, okay, I remember exactly what they said.
So impactful. Like,
yeah, like we can only do so much, you know? So I just try to remember that and just try to be as influential on them as possible, positively influential on them as possible.
Yeah.
I remember, Chris, when we were starting out, you know, and trying, like, the decisions hit you right away. Like, are we going to sleep train? Are we going to breastfeed? Are we going to, like, all the things? And he was like, if somebody had figured out parenting, like the way to parent and have a good, like a kid that'll grow up like perfect,
they would have written the book already.
There would be one book on parenting and we would all read it. And he's like, there's just not an answer. So you just have to take it a day at a time and trust your gut, like you said, Byron. And we're at the very, very beginning and it's terrifying. It's like we had somebody, I think it was a nurse in the hospital, say like, you're not one moment, you're all the moments combined. And that, like, you asking that question, like, what do you ever remember a conversation your parents sat you down? And it's like, no, but I remember holistically.
You know the theme that they're trying to.
Exactly.
You knew the vibe of your home.
Exactly.
Yeah. Totally.
So not to over disclose, but this is very, very important. So my mom is like one of my best friends right now. But I feel like when I was a kid, like I didn't feel liked. Like I knew she loved me, but I reminded her a lot of my dad, and you know, they had their conflicts. And so I felt like because she had a little bit of resentment, she treated me a certain type of way. But my mom will be like, you remember when I said you better hug me every time you left the house? I'm like, no, I don't. But to your point, it's not that one moment that you said that, or the 1,700 moments that you said that to me. It's how I felt when I was that child. And so I try to remember that when I'm speaking with my oldest too, because he's very emotional. And I want to use the word soft, but he is very emotional, very in tune to how he feels. And he just knows that his feelings matter over everything. So I try to take that into account when I'm addressing him. My youngest is not like that. Like I can tell him one thing and be like, all right, yeah, whatever, dude. And I'm like, oh, dude, what? So I have to approach him in a different way. But my oldest, I'm like, oh, yeah. Oh, wow, I can't believe that blade of grass went between your toes and hurt you like that, bro. Like, man, that's true. Never happened to me. So yeah, man, I'm sorry that happened. You need a Band-Aid? No? Okay, you can walk on it? Okay, cool. All right, then. Man, thank you for telling me that. I'll make sure to cut the grass lower next time. Like, that's really hard.
That's a great depiction of him.
Man, so yeah, it's just, gosh, those moments. It's just, I want him to remember us as being like good parents. Like they always supported me and they were there for me and they heard me, as opposed to like, man, my dad always gave me a hard time and he thought I was soft. Like I don't want that. I don't want that.
And I think people too fail to see the peace in the moment. You fail to see that like you wanted this, right? We created these lives. You guys created this baby. Like you asked for this, that, you know, we did. And sometimes it's hard to stop and say, like, these are the moments that we will never get back. These are moments that when we're older, you guys, especially, you're going to be talking this very video, you can go back and watch, and they're going to be grown-ups, you know? And I think sometimes we just stop and say, this is life. We don't want to get over this hill too quickly because we're going to want it back so badly. And I know it's hard to see it in that moment, but I promise I know each and every one of us will feel that way. Yeah. You know, as a mom, I know that's true. And so although I'm always like, yeah, let's get them, you know, when they get out of the house, we're going to travel the world and we're going to do these things. But in all reality, I don't want it to rush. I don't want it to go fast. I want to be in these moments. So
that's a good word. All right. I'm turning off my cell phone as soon as we get out of here. I'm going to go talk to my kids.
Miss my baby.
That's right. That's right. So now we've kind of like started talking about, got off subject a little bit, but I wanted to ask, so how are you guys making time for each other now? Now that it's been a year, you're kind of probably in your flow, your household has a battle rhythm. How is that working?
I like that. I think we had a lot of benefits of having Macy a little bit later. Like we had a lot of friends in our lives who had kids before us, and they were able to give us, you know, advice you get from your parents is one thing, but we are a different generation and things are happening differently now. It's a different world that you're raising a kid in. And we were lucky to have a lot of friends that we looked to see, you know, what we could do to make this work. And one thing a lot of people told us was that you can't be the best parent to her if you guys aren't good. Like you take care of yourself and then your relationship, and then that flows down. And so I think we're trying to keep that in mind. It's really, really hard because I don't know, Brittney, if you feel like this, but you kind of just want to give them everything. And I mean, I would just like not get my hair done or, you know, like buy new clothes or any of those things anymore because I could just spend all of my energy on her.
Yeah.
So we've been trying to be thoughtful about that. We want her to see a strong couple as she gets older. So I feel like the main thing we've done is just committed to date nights.
I love that.
We were able to start doing that and kind of like rip off the Band-Aid when we were near my mom. So we were able to leave her with someone we really, really trusted. And that made it we would go out for like 45 minutes.
Check, please, check.
We've like prepped forward, and now we pretty much go out every Saturday night for like 3 hours. We have to pay for a babysitter now because we're not close to home right now, but it's been good for us. And every single week it's reaffirming, you know, even if you don't feel like going, once you're out and you've done it, you're like, gosh, thank goodness we did that.
Like in terms of like a full week, you know, which is very long, but like those few hours we get, if we're lucky every week, like our goal is once a week, but that doesn't happen every time. And we feel very lucky that we can even go out, you know, like we feel fortunate in that department. But whenever we're out, like it does feel like we're back to ourselves after adjusting on the drive, and like we check the baby cam, like is she asleep? And then we're like, all right, let's like take a minute, let's talk to each other, like let's hear from each other, because like, you know, the majority of the week is just focus on our other goal, which is like to raise our child, to give her the love, the comfort, everything she needs. But yeah, that has just been crucial for, I think, our well-being. And even when we don't realize we need it, like when we're on those dates and we go back home, then we wake up to her on Saturday morning, you know, you're just so much more revitalized to be the best version of yourself. So that is something that we just, I don't know, we are committed to each other, and we just want to continue that indefinitely, because that means we'll be able to be good parents. It's something that will hopefully get us through some harder times.
Absolutely. I love that. And I think date night is great. I'm just proud of you guys for even like going and doing it, you know, and like you said, Christina, like ripping off the Band-Aid and just doing it. So many people probably just don't know they need that connection again, you know, and that's where we sometimes fail our partners. I had a friend, I think I've said this story before on the podcast, but one of the best advice I got from a friend at my baby shower was, don't forget to make him as important, because you asked him to, you know, you created this life together. He's the reason that you even have these children. And so just don't ever forget that person. And I thought that was the best advice, like stay connected, continue having dates, you know, because it's true. There is no them without us. So I love it.
I feel like what you, like a lot of what you've mentioned in terms of like, just even earlier when we were talking about like, oh, like we know how to do it best or whatever. Like, I feel like there's, me personally, I had a fear of turning into like, the I feel like it's such a stereotype that I hate. I like almost don't even want to talk about it out loud because I think it's so lame that it exists. But it's like the nagging wife that loses herself and, you know, becomes the like sweatpants and like hair up. It's like, why didn't you put gas in the car? Like whatever it might be. And I feel like it's just, you keep saying it, Brittney, and it's really resonating because it's like, you just have to come back and like be grateful for this other person that you get to do this with. And it's like, it's just these little things you just kind of have to let go. And another thing that I feel like sometimes I feel like we're maybe as the moms, we're neurotic and we're like, no, these are the washcloths that are for the baby. And like, this is something we have room for in our minds. Like I don't know why, like these are just some details that come really naturally to us. And I feel like it's easy to kind of write this narrative of like, oh, I care more, or like I have this more on lock. But then I have to sit back and be like, no, but what are my deficiencies, or where am I not as strong? And all of a sudden, all of his strengths start to become very clear. Like Chris is so playful. He has always been playful. He's like a kid at heart. I call him, I don't know if you guys watch Ted Lasso, but I call him the raven-haired golden retriever because he's just in Rojas in that show. It's just like excitable and so much fun. And I don't have that quality. And it's such an important quality for parenting. Like she has so much fun playing with Chris. And so while I might be shopping for like organic cotton baby sleeper, over here, like I do not give a crap what kind of sleeper she sleeps in. She can sleep in whatever's
into each other's strengths, because there's, I mean, a laundry list of what you do that I just like don't even think about. And it's like, oh, this.
The same for you.
Well, yeah, but it's, you know, that's just what makes things work. You got to lean into each other's strengths, and you can't do it by yourself. Or if you did, it'd just be a lot harder, I think, on everybody. So it's just letting go of that control, because there's definitely things I do probably not in the way that you would want, and vice versa.
And it's important, too, that you all both continue to be so different. Like in relationships, the beauty about them is that you have two different partners coming together, and you don't want them to be the same. Like, and her and I, we talk about that where like, you want me to I can't just be like you, babe, because if I'm just like you, they're not going to get some of me either, right? And there are things that I do that are important for them. And of course, there are things that you do that are extremely important for them too, like being able to live, because if it was just me, they'd be out here, we'd be doing too much, but it's important, so Macy's very, very blessed to have the two of you, 100%. Just your positivity, your aura, your energy,
Your love.
I mean, that you all give to each other, that's just going to bleed right into her, and she's going to feel it every day. So I love that. And I'm just happy, too, that you all are finding so much time to spend with each other, like every Saturday. Like, that's great. Like,
Enjoy it.
Yeah, for now, I feel like we're in the easy phase, though. I feel like, just to be clear, I feel like we know that we, like, they get schedules and they get their own interests, and like pretty soon she's going to have such a bigger energy. Like right now she's just so containable. I don't know. I know that more is coming and it's going to get more and more challenging. And I know that we will not be the same people we are today talking to you guys in even 6 months or a year. And you guys just are so much more wise than us. It feels silly to even be our philosophies because we're so new to this, but it's just, we're trying to put each other, have time for ourselves. But I know that I would hate to make anybody that didn't do that or wasn't able to do that feel like that wasn't okay, because I know that it's going to get more challenging for us as she gets bigger, and we might not be able to maintain that, but hopefully we will, even if it's just little moments, that.
Exactly. I was thinking that too, because even if you can't, like our kids, like you said, have really crazy schedules now. They play sports and do instruments and stuff, but there is still time once they go to bed, like we can sit on the couch and have wine. We'll make a charcuterie board, like whatever it is, it may not be like we went out on a date, but we definitely try to do something,
Yeah.
And I think there's other ways, like you're saying, people out there, I think just setting aside some time that's just you two. You're not talking about the kids. You're talking about whatever it is you want to talk about,
Totally.
Completely agree. Yeah.
All right. So a little reflection time here. So, you all had, great times with each other before you had a child, and y'all got to learn each other, right? So based on, learning each other, what qualities would y'all say y'all possess that make y'all the perfect parent for Macy? And what are some things you think you could work on to become what you envision a perfect parent could be for your daughter?
God.
I
don't think
Well, first of all, let's get rid of that word perfect.
Yeah.
Because
I use that word intentionally.
No. What?
I was going to say, I can think of the thing I know I'm constantly wanting to be better at, which is being present. It's what Brittney said. Like, it's hard not to be like, oh, when she's this age or when she's at this phase, and like, oh, like when do I sign up for swim lessons, and like, blah, blah, like and with social media too, it's hard to even just be present without your kid. Like everything is pulling you towards your phone and all those things. And so I think it's really hard to just like sit and be present these days. And that's challenging for me. And like you guys said, it goes so fast. And I feel like I don't want to give an hour to Instagram that I could have given to my family or something. You know what I mean? So I feel like that's something I have realized in the last year I can be so much better at and want to continue to work on.
Yeah, I mean, I just plus one to what Christina said, like specifically just like technology and phone stuff, like that is the biggest distraction for me in like my personal life. I think it's amazing. I love the connection building. I love staying in touch with so many people. Like it is an amazing tool. But, I just know whenever I'm 85 years old, am I going to be on the gram? And so it change between now and 85. If I make it that long, probably won't. So just like focusing on that now, knowing that these years are never going to come back, especially with this age. Like I can't even imagine at this point, a kid in college who you talk to like every 3 weeks, going from seeing them every day as a baby, every moment when they're awake. So being present for sure. And then in terms of like perfect qualities, I can only speak about Christina in this way because I think I'm extremely far from perfect or being even, like it's hard being a parent. But for Christina, I have witnessed firsthand doing anything under the sun for her, no matter what the cost is to herself. Like Christina, I feel like this is, so where we live, we have one car. Christina walks to daycare most days of the week. It's like that story your parents say, like, I used to walk through the snow 4 miles. Like, Christina's doing that version of it for getting Macy to daycare. I take the car to go into work. And like, it's just such a challenging thing. And I had to do it one time over the last couple of weeks. And I was like, how the heck do you do this like 3-4 times a week? Like, it was definitely like, experiencing it. And she doesn't complain. She doesn't, make a big deal out of anything. She just does it. And that applies to everything, like meal planning, to making sure Macy has like the right food and the ingredients, and knowing like some of the things we should be introducing. So she has just taken on such a big majority of the workload for Macy, I think. And so that's Christina's strongest quality, is just doing whatever needs to be done. And then not complaining about it, because I think I'm a little baby.
I was going to say, that's really amazing.
That's a huge part of it. Yeah. I had to make the lunches again. I'm like, seriously? Okay, again? Thanks. I was going to say thank you, but never mind. No, that's such good word. Hey, I just want to say thank you all again for coming on, man. Y'all provided us with so many good nuggets that I think a lot of new parents are going to learn a lot from. What do you think?
Absolutely. Yeah, old and new parents. It's all good advice. So, Chris and Christina, thank you both for sharing your story. And I hope someone else can relate to it for sure.
Thank you all for doing this podcast and for giving us all an opportunity to learn from all of your wisdom, because I feel like I can speak for everybody in your guys' lives that we see it and we look to you guys. And I'm really glad that you guys have this platform, because you're the true champions. We all just hope that we can do it as good as you can.
You'll be better than us.
You're on the way.
Yes. Yes. So thank you guys.
Yes,
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yes.
Fun. Also, I want to talk more. Like, seriously, we've lost touch, and COVID was weird, and then we all fell off the face of the earth and moved different ways. But hopefully, we can pick up in real life.
Yeah. Hey, maybe instead of y'all going out on those Saturday nights, just give us a call. We'll just hang out.
Set us on the table.
Don't threaten me with a good time, Byron.
That was such great word from Chris and Christina. I think everybody can take from this, continue to date your spouse, give them grace, those type of things. That's good advice. And I think old parents and new parents can learn from that.
100%. Yeah, I think they provided us with such good information and fresh perspective. I think sometimes when you're a parent for 10 years, 11 years, you start to forget what those times were like.
Yes.
And you think that you just know everything, but no, it was a great reminder that things change often. And as they were speaking, I was thinking about our kids and how they have shaped into brand new individuals. That's very, very hard to keep up with, at times. So that's why, in my opinion, it's really important to have you to kind of bounce ideas off of and talk to you about, okay, hey, was I a little too harsh on them? Or, what do we think we should do this upcoming school year to prepare them better? It's great to have you as a partner to help us through this parenting storm.
And the key word there is partner, right? You are married. You have a partner for life that you make all these decisions together. This is not a single man job. This is, or woman, job. This is a 2-person job, and there's a reason for it. It takes both of you. It takes a lot of energy. It's the most exhausting and rewarding job. So it was great to hear their story. I appreciated them. And I know just hearing it made me reflect on things we've been through. So for sure.
Yeah.
Good reminder.
100%. Hey, so again, like I said earlier, because of the words that we just received and provided, we're going to shut this down and we're going to spend some time with our kids before their first day of school. Thank y'all so much. We love y'all. Really, really appreciate y'all tuning in with us. Can't wait to have another episode with y'all here in a couple of weeks. Without further ado, be blessed, be you.
Just be.
Yeah.
I'm blessed to be me.